Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
Hello and welcome to the African News and Voice of the People's Television. I am Fina Chuku. Before we begin the news, kindly visit the website at www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. We begin today's African news from Benin Republic, where the Benin President, Patrice Talon, said on Sunday that the West African nation's government and armed forces had thwarted a coup attempt by a group of soldiers and vowed to punish them. Talon's announcement on Sunday evening came about 12 hours after gunfire first rang out in several neighborhoods of Cotonou, the country's biggest city and commercial hub, and soldiers went on state television to say they had removed Talon from power. Forces loyal to Talon stood firm, recaptured their positions, and cleared the last pockets of resistance held by the mutinist. Talon said this on his own televised statement. He vowed that the treasury would not go unpunished and said that the commitment and mobilization from his loyalists enabled the government to defeat the adventurers and prevented the worst for the country. Talon said his thoughts were with the victims of the coup attempt as well as with a number of people held by the fleeing Motinas without giving details. Currently, there are no reported cases of casualties or hostage taken. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has ordered the immediate deployment of its standby force in Benin, following Sunday's morning's aborted coup d'etat in the country. This is contained in a statement issued by the ECOWAS Commission hours after releasing its first statement on the coup. There had been reports on Sunday that based on the vowed threat in the earlier statement by the regional bloc, ECOWAS would likely deploy its standby force in Venezuela. Hours after ECOWAS in another statement said it had decided to deploy the standby force following wide consultations with its head of states and government and the Mediation and Security Council. It further explained that the decision taken at highest level was based on Article 25, subsection E of the 1999 ECOWAS Protocol relating to the mechanism for conflict prevention, management, resolution, peacekeeping, and security. Elsewhere, Tunisians took to the street on Saturday for a third straight week to protest against President Kais Saied's expanding crackdown on the opposition. Critics and NGOs urging the release of political prisoners. Protests against Saied are growing as results, and groups accuse him of using the judicial and police to suppress opponents and cement an autocratic one-man rule. Saied denies having become a dictator or using the judiciary against opponents. But last week, an appeal court handed jail time of up to 45 years to dozens of opposition leaders, business people, and lawyers on charges of conspiracy to overthrow Saied, in what critics said was a sign of increasingly authoritarian rule. In another development, Uganda's opposition candidate Bobi Wine said he was beaten alongside his aides and supporters by security forces while campaigning in the country's north in an escalation of violence ahead of the country's presidential election on January 15. Wine, a pop star turned politician whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi, is challenging 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni for the second time after coming second in the last election in 2021. In a series of posts on his X account late on Saturday, Wine said he was hit in the face with a cane and that other supporters were also beaten and had to be hospitalized as they approached a campaign venue in Gulu, the biggest city in Uganda's north. Military spokesperson Chris Magezi accused Wine and his supporters of forming an illegal procession and campaigning beyond the prescribed time. Security forces are there to make sure everyone follows the laws. This report says a former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called on the Orange Democratic Movement ODM members to work closely with the united opposition ahead of the 2027 general election. During a church service in Kasarani on Sunday, December 7, Gachagua claimed that President William Ruto has been trying to lure former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka to the side of the government. The former second-in-command claimed further that the government has been trying to create rift between him and Kalonzo after failing to secure the Wiper leader's support. Gachagua stated that the united opposition is clear in its strategy and will present one candidate to challenge William Ruto in the 2027 presidential election. The Democracy for Citizen Party (DCP) leader urged the Orange Party, led by Senator Oburu Oginga, to unite and work closely with the united opposition to unseat William Ruto. Moving on, a prominent Sudanese doctors group has accused the paramilitary Rapid Support Force (RSF) of raping at least 19 women as they fled the city of El Fasher in Darfur. The Sudan Doctors Network said in a statement on Sunday that it documented the rapes among women who had fled to the town of Al-Daba in the neighboring northern state. 2 of the women were pregnant, the group said. Sudan has been engulfed in civil war since April 2023, when fighting erupted between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary RSF. Amnesty International has also accused the RSF of war crimes, while the UN Human Rights Council has ordered an investigation into the abuses in the El Fasher. Officials who visited Darfur and spoke to survivors described the region as an absolute horror show and a crime scene center. In another development, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition, SPLM-IO, has criticized Upper Nile State Governor Jacob Dollar Road over blood-sucking remarks it says amount to direct threat against humanitarian organizations operating in Nasser country. In a statement, NPLM-IO acting chairman of the National Committee on Foreign Relations, Ruth Moch Tang, said the remarks attributed to the governor constitute what was described as dangerous rhetoric that could place aid workers at risk and disrupt urgently needed assistance in one of the country's most fragile regions. According to Moch, Governor Dole gave humanitarian agencies 48 hours to shift their operations to Nurse Town or risk having their operational certificates revoked. He was further quoted as describing aid agencies as bloodsuckers. Comments the IO says are inflammatory and capable of provoking hostility against relief personnel. The opposition movement stressed that state authorities have no legal mandate to withdraw or suspend NGO operational license, noting that registration and regulation fall strictly under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Relief and Rehabilitation Commission. Any such threat, SPLM-IO argues, amounts to administrative overreach and violates established national procedures governing humanitarian works. You're watching the African News on Voice of the People television. It's time for the news analysis. And with us in the studio this afternoon to help make sense of the stories we've listened to thus far that made it to our bulletin is Dr. Peter Anosike, a seasoned author and a public and political affairs analyst, as well as an erudite in politics, economic, and every other vital discussion. Good afternoon, Dr. Peter Anosike. Good to hear. I sincerely appreciate your presence this afternoon. All right, without wasting much time, let's start off with what is playing out somewhere in Africa still, where we learned that in Tunisia, for example, oppositions are being arrested, handed over some 40 years, some above that, because they belong to opposition party. I think last week or thereabouts, we learned about a lady and two other persons who were protesting the what they call a gradual individual rule in Tunisia playing out now. They were arrested and one of them was handed over 45 years imprisonment. What do you have to say about this?
It seems it has become a culture in Africa. That's I want to call it a culture because it's something that is happening in Uganda. It happened in Tanzania. Understand? In Tanzania, those in the opposition, some were killed, some were disqualified, some were put in prison. It happened in Cameroon. So it has become a culture in Africa that leaders are intolerant towards people in the opposition. And it is not good at all. It is not good at all. The beauty of democracy is that it gives you that you should choose between 2, 3, 4 people. And when there's no choice, it is no more democracy. It becomes an imposition.
Now that we have a 3-week straight protest in Tunisia against the president, Kais Saied, over this, will I say, authoritarian rule, which people are talking about and all that. Do you think that, he's going in any way going to reduce the crackdown on opposition members? Because from the people of Tunis, they were of the opinion that the president himself, Saied, is using the judiciary, the military to cramp down on people who have, or who's supposed to have dissent voices.
Well, the truth is that a lot of people don't learn from history. That's why they repeat or the mistakes of history. Because it is in Tunisia that Arab Spring began. Yeah. Understand? Maybe the president then now, who was part of the protesters, has forgotten what happened. Understand? And since it happened then, nothing will stop it from happening again. So what he is doing, that it is not good. Understand? He came in. It was the Arab Spring that brought him into power. And now he's now doing what caused that thing.
But he's denying it. He's saying he's not doing anything he's not a dictator and he's not using the judiciary against any opponent. He's just being the president of Tunisia.
So why must somebody be given 45 years imprisonment for just criticizing the government?
For trying to upturn, because that was what they were trying to overthrow the government.
They always declare you as enemy of the state.
Yes,
the next you are trying to overthrow the government. So it's a harsh word that dictators always use. So it is very wrong. And for me, he should give peace a chance so that what happened before would not happen again.
Let's go to our neighbors here, the the Benin Republic, where we launched, though, thank God, or let's say thank God now, because that's what we're saying. If not, it would have been number 8 African country to move into military
within
rule
5 years.
Within 5 years, exactly. That's another point. What is really happening? Why are we having such, let's say, upsurge of military takeover? Within 5 years, 7 already is down. And we're seeing, if not the fact that, yeah, this one is more like a Thwarted coup, and that coup d'etat would have happened just better.
If you had read some comments in the social media yesterday, some were saying it is coming nearer. When will this be our turn? Understand me? So, but for me, military is not made to be in government. Their main function is to defend the territorial integrity of the country and not to govern. So once they see them in government, something happens. They're always there as a rescue mission. Understand? That's when things are going bad in the country. Understand? And most of the leaders are the people indirectly inviting these military takeovers. Because when they are abusing power, when people are being, when you say that you are running a democracy, there's no freedom of speech, the fundamental human rights are not being observed, there's no development. Understand? When people begin to complain, naturally, the military will leave what is their main responsibility to take over government. But from what you read, I had one thing that I don't know before, that ECOWAS has a standing
we will get there. We will get there because it's a gradual thing. Because even yesterday too, we saw that Nigeria were able to send in their Air Force team to capture the airspace. And also they send in troops, land soldiers too. And with that swift movement, they were able to forward that coup. What do you have to say about that, with the fact that, you know, Nigeria on one hand is battling issue of insecurity, and most times it's more like when the Tucano jet is being used, or maybe when you see the air, the NAF moving out to go and bombard some, you know, place where we believe we have unscoped elements, we always have back information to say that was not, although they're working on credible information, but in a sense, Nigerians were going for it.
This simply shows that our own charity begins at our way. We can crush a Republic of Benin, but we cannot crush Boko Haram that have been here for 15 years. So our own charity begins at our way. And mind you, two things here, which a lot of people don't know. Your president is working for the French government. Understand? Because the French government were not in support of that coup. And if you hear what they said at the station, they said that the French government should remove their hand from what's happening in their country.
So do you think that let's move in now to what ECOWAS said when they said they've already deployed the immediate deployment of the standby force in Benin Republic?
So where is the standby force? Where do they base?
But you know, when we have the ECOMOG, we have people that
where do they standby force should be somewhere where we are there when the coup in Niger happened, in Mali, in Burkina Faso. Where was the standing force?
Are you saying that the Article 25, subsection E of the 1999 ECOWAS protocol, that, you know, we know the relationship that has to do with a mechanism for conflict prevention, management, resolution, and all that? Are you saying that they are now cherry picking or where to work or the country to support and all that? And why so?
One, I say I don't know that ECOWAS has a standing force. If they have, where is their base? Where is their location? Are they located in Nigeria, in Benin, in Nigeria? That's number one. Understand? Number two, why were they not deployed when there was a coup in Niger, in Burkina Faso, and which are all West African countries? Understand? So for me, this is just somebody trying to protect his government.
When you say someone is trying to protect his government, in what sense are we looking at it at this point? Who is this somebody, and what is really happening? Because we were told in Nigeria that it took the foreign ministry of Benin to get across to Nigerian government to say we need your help urgently because of the coup and the fact that the Mutinas were already shooting gun and taking over Cotonou that happened to be a commercial hub and all
They
that.
have taken over the radio station.
Yes.
And the people were already celebrating on the streets. People, I watch the video of people celebrating. So if the government is doing well, why should people celebrate?
Why was that coup forward? If you think the government is not doing well, because you have people who are loyal to Talon, who is the president.
Was it? But you heard that? You read here that Nigerian Air Force were sent there to crush the coup. Again, I told you that in the social media, people are saying that it is coming near. Understand me? It is now at your border post. And somebody will not want, just like the reason why Russia invaded Ukraine, because NATO was coming to their doorstep. Understand? So put two and two together, you will know what happened.
We shared border with Benin Republic from Lagos access. You take it back to the north. We share border also with Niger Republic. You check what is playing out also in Mali. We share border with all these countries. So why is it that the interest?
We have no border with...
but we have border with Niger Republic.
Yeah.
So why was it that such force was not sent to Mali, to Niger, I beg your pardon, to quell or to curb the issue of the coup?
That's, I say, some people now, it is becoming too many. Understand? It is becoming too many, and something needs to be done about it. Personally, I'm not in support of military rule. Understand? Even I know that we are not having the best of democracy, but it is still better than military rule. At least in a democracy, you can say no. They can put 3 people for you as governorship aspirants, and you pick one. But in the military, they just send anybody to you. You have no right of choice, no right of refusal. So for me, I'm not a fan of military government. But those in power, it is them that is causing this military government by negligence of the people.
Let's take a cue from what played out in Guinea-Bissau, before the coup and all that. We were told that instead of the result, because it happened a day before the result to be announced, and we even have the election observers still on ground in the soil of Guinea-Bissau when the coup played out. And then some persons were of the opinion that the incumbent knew that he's going to lose the election, and that was why he called on the military to take over and all that. You also shared a lot of
that was what Goodluck Jonathan said, that it is the incumbent and Bando that invited military to take over. Understand me?
So what does that portend?
Well, maybe he's afraid of being probed, being sent to jail by the opposition. Because once an opposition comes, the first thing is to probe the government is taken over from. And
you think the military doesn't have the power to do such?
No, since he is the one
that invited them,
that appointed them. Understand? So they are friendly foes. Understand me?
Can we say the same of what is playing out or what played out during Lajarina's tenure in Madagascar before he was asked by the military?
No. It's a different case. That one was a youth protest.
But he also called on the military to say, help stop the youth from the protest.
Sure.
And then we saw the, reverse.
But the military participated in the protest because power belongs to the people, and the people have said no.
Why are we having this military takeover, military intervention,
bad governance,
protests in Cameroon, for example, after the election that took place just last month? We were told that over 100 persons lost their life because they wouldn't want Paul Biya to return back. If you go to Tanzania, there was also protest because the people who said they don't want the president to be there. In Tunisia, it's playing out again. Why are we having is it that Africans are becoming aware of the way things should be, or what is really playing out?
It is bad governance. It is bad governance. And if you remember the former Prime Minister of South Africa, Peter Botha, he said that the black man doesn't have intelligence to rule themselves. And that's what is happening up to date.
When you say they don't have intelligence to rule
That's
themselves,
what
okay, that was what he said. But it's more like you share in his line of thought.
If you say what's happening there, that's everywhere, understand? If you are good, you don't need to put the opposition in prison.
Prior to this time, before the scrambling and partition of Africa in 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference, we have in this part of the world, we have empires, we have dynasties, we have people, prominent men, prominent leaders ruling their people, and they were able to hold it together. So what really changed? And also before now, after we gain independence and all that, we could also talk about great men in Africa that people most times do, point to when they want to make their own reference, a reference to them as great men that have dignity and they were able to deliver for their people. What really changed? And what point we got it wrong?
Up to today, people still talk about Tanzania as the country of Nyerere. Understand? Because he left a legacy corruption-free. He never built a mansion. Talk of Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia. Understand? These are people who fought for their people and left legacies for their people. They are not thieves. Understand? M.I.M. Okpara, the premier of Eastern region. The Eastern region comprises the 11 states now, but he never built a personal house. It was it was in 1984 that friends contributed money to build house for him. So these are committed, dedicated people. Understand? So they are a different breed from what we are having now. In the pre-colonial days, institutions work. Understand? The Council of Obas control the Oba. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So, but here you see dictators. So it is civilization is going down the drain on a daily basis, which is very, very unfortunate.
When you say civilization, were we not civilized before now? Africa is the cradle of civilization. We know what played out in Egypt. Every other thing, actually, straight to us. So when you say civilization is what is going down,
it's going down. It's going down.
At what point do we get? When exactly do we get this whole thing wrong? Because if we're saying that people that we have before now, the nationalists that we have before now, laid good legacy, what happened? I ask this question every time because sometimes, if you check out what is playing out also in the world, you find out that it's not like parents who gain wonderful training and education. Greed.
Greed. It is this product of greed and love of money. Understand? It is greed and love. That's how I have mentioned the M.I.M. Okpara, who ruled without building his own house. Understand me? Sadona, that's Amadou Bendo, the same thing. The prime minister, they never built mansions anywhere. Understand? These are simple people. So for me, greed is the reason why all this are happening.
All right, without wasting much time, let's get to Uganda, where we learned that Bobby Wine and his team were beaten. And the reason the military gave for them to carry out the beating was the fact that they were found somewhere where they're not supposed to be. They were found having an illegal gathering, against the time they're supposed to, or beyond the prescribed time for gathering in Uganda. Please help us walk around this place. Recall that Bobby Wine was he was the first runner-up in the 2021 election, 2021. And all that.
So they are just trying to bring up excuses to harass, intimidate Bobby Wine and his supporters. Because Museveni has made Uganda a one-man country. His wife is in government, his daughter is in government, everybody is in government.
Family business now.
And he's even proposing his son to take over from him any day. So we are not going to witness a free, fair, credible election. We are actually going to see what happened in Cameroon happening in in Uganda.
So you're saying that the January 15, 2026 election day, might not really come out free and fair?
This is a way of rigging the process. Elections are not only rigged on the day of the voting, it is rigged before by harassing, intimidating the opponents. So that's where Museveni is going now. On that day, you can see people will be afraid of coming out to exercise their franchise because there will be tension everywhere.
Okay, we go to another country now, Kenya to be precise. We learned that there are plans to unseat William Ruto. And some people are already calling for major. The likes of Rigathi Gachagua is also pleading with another political party, ODM, for them to form an alliance to unseat William Ruto from the presidency. What do you make of this? And do you think at this point that the likes of Kalonzo, whom they've been calling on to say, come, let's join force, let's push this, let's see how it's going to be. Do you think that they are going to form or make a headway with this? Suppose how it was playing out in your country, in Nigeria, where we have so many political parties talking about possible measure or even coalition. And at the end of the day, it's more like we're not seeing it coming out or even pushing forward to unseat the incumbent.
For me, it is still, in Nigeria, it is still ending the day. Okay. But in Kenya, William Ruto has seen that he is becoming more popular by the day. Understand? Because of some unguarded utterances that he had been making, or the way he quelled the riot and so on and so forth. So, and he on his own part is not letting go. He had wanted that to form a coalition with Odinga. Understand? So he is also looking for support. And the truth is that democracy is far more developed in Tanzania, in Kenya than even in our own country. Understand? Because they realize that they cannot do it alone. So the opposition are calling for unity. Ruto is also fighting that to get people on his own side.
Why is it that in Africa, the only thing on the mouth or lips of political elected officials is 2027? Don't we have a year 2025, play out? Because check it out, in Kenya, they are all talking about election. In Uganda, election. The same thing. Although Uganda's one is better, it's closer because it's January 2026, I beg your pardon. In Nigeria, they are talking about the 2027 election. And, it's more like it's taking away the mind of the people elected from governance to politics.
When you run out of ideas, understand, you begin to focus on the next election because for me, governance ought to continue till the day of the election because election is supposed to be an appraisal of somebody's stewardship in office. Understand? When you are campaigning, you campaign with what you have done. Then the people will now do a kind of a referendum. Understand? And now make their choice based on this candidate develop deliver on his campaign promises. This is what should determine elections. But when you forget working for the people, it means that you want to rig the election.
But now you made mention of William Ruto trying to, form an alliance with Odinga. Now, do you think that former Vice President Kalonzo will ever look at forming an alliance with William Ruto? Because this is where the whole problem is coming. When we're looking at whatever thing that Gachagua talked about, he said that the president is doing everything within his powers to make sure that he brought the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka back to be on his side.
He needs support. He knows that his voters are slipping away. So he wants to get the former vice to his side so that with his own support, the Canal team. Understand me? So that's what's happening. It now depends on what he wants to be remembered by.
Okay, let's go to Sudan. In Sudan, there is this revelation made available by a group of doctors, talking about or they've accused the Paramilitary Rapid Support Force, RSF, of raping at least 19 women, where confirmed that 2 women were already pregnant in the war-torn country. I recall also that RSF have been accused of war crime within the El Fasher district in Darfur. What do you have to say about this? These are people who are fleeing. Remember, they are fleeing the war-torn zone to a safe haven, but
well,
they were caught in all this.
This is what happens in most of the war-torn countries, because there's no law and order. It's not just in Sudan. It happens that's everywhere. It was happening in Liberia when in the war between Samuel Doe and Chastender. It happened in Sierra Leone too. So anywhere there's war, it's always happened. And for me, UN has a right that to protect such victims.
What is AU doing in this war? What's the African Union doing in this? Because this is more like a civil war between the military of the country and another paramilitary group who believe maybe they are aggrieved. Recall the war started in 2023 where the vice president was trying to contend with the president, and boom, it's now into a full-blown war to the point that people are being raped, people are being killed, and so many other war crime activities are playing out.
The issue is this: AU has become non-existent.
But they were able to talk in Madagascar. They were able to sanction the military that took over in Madagascar over the coup.
And what happened?
They boycotted them. So why wouldn't they speak or talk about what is playing out in Sudan?
Making statements without implementing it doesn't make any meaning. And that's why even Qatar and America are now intervening in Congo, DR, Sudan issues. But I believe that African problems should be solved by Africans. But right now, we don't have influential heads of governments. That's done. All we have everywhere are just puppets. Nobody is respecting each other.
When you say we don't have influential...
We don't have influential heads of government in Africa. Assuming that Olusegun Obasanjo was the president of Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger wouldn't have done what they did.
Wouldn't have exited.
Sure. They would have not, but because he has respect. When Obasanjo was the president, or there was the head of government of one of these southern African countries who was on a visit to Nigeria, his government was overthrown. He told the man, go back and take over your government. So
what do you think people play or allegiance to? Is it him as a person, or the fact that he was once a former military ruler before coming back as a civil and elected president? It
depends on your character, your reputation, at least what people knows you for. If you come in through a disputed, manipulated election, nobody will have respect for you. Understand me? If you come in through a rigged election, nobody will have respect for you. It simply shows that even your people don't like you.
And that is what you think is playing out now.
That's what's happening in Africa.
So okay, let's propose a solution, Dr. Peter. Africa is a great continent. So what do you think we should do for us to regain the integrity and maybe the honor or respect we're supposed to have?
One, we should give power back to institutions instead of to the people. That's where it should start. Giving power back to the institutions. Let institutions begin to work, and let individuals begin to work inside those institutions.
Do you think that will be possible where people are already pointing fingers to possibility of neocolonialism with the invasion of the Western Bloc, or rather foreign entities trying to steal mine the mineral resources of Africa just to enrich themselves in their pockets?
For those theories, for me, is neither here.
If you check out what is playing out in DRC, for example, and what is also playing out in Sudan, sometimes the people raise alarm of the fact that they have a United Nations weapon proliferated into the war-torn country and all that. And also, we are not going to take out the parts where people have been accused, or countries, of trying to, fuel the issue of insecurity so that the illegal mining of mineral resources can continue.
I'm not doubting that about 20, 30 years ago, natural resources has led to assassination of presidents in Africa. It has led to taking over of governments in Africa. But this is happening because, one, we've not put our house in order. Understand? We have not put our house in order.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Anosike, for being part of today's African News. This is how far we can go on the news into press of time. We sincerely appreciate your presence. We've been talking with Dr. Peter Anosike, an economist and also a public and political affairs analyst, especially he's an erudite scholar too, as well as an author. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it. You're watching the African News and Voice of the People television. We'll go on a quick break and we'll come back. The rest of the news continues.
This is African News on Voice of the People television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeat, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People television. Stay with us.
On Edu Dialogue, we bring you fresh ideas and conversations shaping the future of learning in Nigeria and beyond.
This is African News on Voice of the People television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeat, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People television. Stay with us.
Glad to have you back. It's still the African News and Voice of the People television. A political storm is brewing in southern Sudan's Jonglei state after Governor Dr. Riek Guy Cook was seen holding the South Sudan national flag upside down during an SPLM rally in Yerol County. A blunder now drawing sharp criticism and igniting a debate over respect for national symbols. The incident occurred at Padding headquarters during what was meant to be a routine political mobilization event. Photos and videos circulating on social media show the governor addressing the crowd with the inverted flag clearly visible beside him, in the presence of senior officials and SPLM supporters. The upside-down display, internationally recognized as a sign of distress, has reportedly fueled public concern and triggered legal and political commentary. Meanwhile, a water leak last month damaged hundreds of books in the Egyptian Antiquities Department of the Louvre, underscoring the deteriorating state of the world's most visited museum just weeks after a daring jewel heist exposed security flaws. Specialist website La Tribune do Art reported that around 400 rare books were affected, blaming poor pipe conditions. It said the department had long sought funds to protect the collection from such risks without success. Louvre Deputy Administrator Francis Steinbach, who disclosed this on Sunday, told newsmen that the water pipe and its leak concerned one of the 3 rooms of the library of the Egyptian Antiquities Department. A report published in October by France's public audit book, known as the Cours des Comptes, said the museum's inability to update its infrastructure were exacerbated by excessive spending on artwork. The Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure Development in Zimbabwe has expressed deep sorrow following the death of engineer Manuel José Semente, a staffer with Caminhos do Ferro do Mozambique, CFM, who was killed in a tragic level crossing accident in Headlands, Manicaland, on 28 November 2025. Semente died while on official duty during a joint railway inspection with the National Railways of Zimbabwe and NRZ. In a statement issued over the weekend, the ministry confirmed that the accident involved a CFM railway trolley and a fuel tanker which failed to stop at the crossing. Semente sustained fatal injuries, sparking widespread grief across Zimbabwe's transport sector. The government, NRZ, and the ministry extended condolences to the Mozambican government, CFM, and Semente's family. Moving on to some business stories. The rand started the week flat as traders assessed Moody's decision to keep South Africa's credit rating and outlook unchanged, while awaiting key data releases that will give indications of demand and output trends at the start of the fourth quarter. At 7:03 GMT, the rand traded at 16.9375 against the dollar, a whisker away from Friday's close. Moody's kept South Africa's credit rating at Ba2, saying its decision reflected the nation's low growth potential, while also leaving the outlook stable. Investor attention was shifted to retail sales data on Wednesday and mining, as well as manufacturing production figures on Thursday. Still in South Africa, the legacy national oil company Petro SA has approved a deal to give Shell Offshore a 60% stake in its Block 2C of the country's west coast, a deal documents showed on Monday. If successfully concluded, the agreement to strengthen all major Shell exposure to the Orange Basin, which has become one of the world's most coveted exploration zones after major oil discoveries in neighboring Namibia. A short note under Petro SA's priority programs said the company had approved the farm-in deal to allow Shell Offshore to take a 60% interest, with Shell committing a $25 million signing bonus and full cost for 3 wells. A Shell spokesperson said commercial sensitivities prevented any comment on specific opportunities, but added that the company was cautiously evaluating various portfolio and its option to grow businesses. In sport, Mozambique head coach Chiquinho Conde has announced his final list of 25 players selected for the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025, unveiling a balanced squad that combines tournament experience with exciting new talent. The members, making their 6th appearance at Africa's flagship competition, will look to progress beyond the group stage for the first time in their history. Conde has retained the core of the team that featured at the last edition in Côte d'Ivoire, with 16 players returning from another continental campaign. They are joined by 9 newcomers who will experience CAF AFCON action for the first time. Among the returning contingent are goalkeepers Nani and Ivani Urubal, along with defender Mexa Renin Ludo, Bruno Langa, Ifren Matalo, Edmilson Dove, and Nene. In the midfield, Guima, Alfonso Amade, Joao Bonde maintain their role as the heart of the team, while forwards Ratifo, Gildo, Jenny Katamo, and Witi continue to form the nucleus of Mozambique's attacking option. The squad welcomes 9 players making their AFCON debut, including goalkeeper Kimis Zavala, who ends his first tournament call-up as dual defenders Oscar Sherene, Diogo Kalila, and Chamboko. Midfielders Kambala and Kenya's Abdallah, alongside forwards Melki, Fesela Bangal, and Chamito, completes the list of new additions. Liverpool forward and Egypt international Mohamed Salah is destroying his legacy, says a former Manchester United striker Rooney. Salah said on Saturday he felt like he had been thrown under the bus by Liverpool and that his relationship with head coach and Slot had broken down. Rooney believes that Slot must now show his authority and not involve the Egyptians in Tuesday's Champions League game at Inter Milan or next Saturday's home match with Brighton. And that is it on the African News on Voice of the People television. Thanks for watching. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all the social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. If you witness news happening near you, we want to hear from you. Send your eyewitness reports, event coverage requests, photos, or videos directly via WhatsApp to 0814-606-4057. You can also reach our newsroom by email at news@vop.ng. I am Fina Chukwu. Good afternoon.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www